I'll implore you to send in your messages once again, your submissions, your opinions as well. I always say that the expression of opinion is not only exclusive, or it's not an exclusive reserve of our guests. You too can do same. Be a part of this conversation. Let it be as interactive as possible. Send in your messages. Employ decorum. Make sure you do not insult anybody. If somebody makes an expression that you think you are not in agreement with, or you are not in concord with, you can just make your point also politely without any insult. I would not read any messages that entails insults. That is just by the way. But let's start our conversation with the African story, as we do here at Pan-African Television. And my guests have already said that that is what actually separates us from the other stations. The very fact that we take particular interest, we have a keen interest in happenings with regards to other African countries. Yep. So our first African story, or African story that we are going to be discussing for the morning, has got to do with Senegal. Last week, I think it was last week Friday, that this conversation came up on the morning show, where a Senegalese opposition leader has been arrested. He has been sentenced to some 2 years in prison over allegations of rape. That was what was put on him in the first place. But then the court looked at it again and then gave him a milder, I should say a milder sentence, by saying that he was actually being a bad influence on the youth of Senegal. So let me read excerpts of the story, just a couple of paragraphs. Dakar, it says, the number of people killed in days of clashes between Senegalese police and supporters of opposition leader Ousmane Sonko has now risen to 15, including 2 security officers, the government said on Saturday. While Dakar was calmer on Saturday, clashes continued into the evening in residential neighborhoods. Protesters threw rocks at police barricaded roads and set tires on fire. The army patrolled the streets as police fired tear gas at the demonstrators, inspecting and detaining people deemed to be causing trouble. Residents peered over the rooftops of buildings, both shielding for cover and watching the clashes. It continues to say that the clashes first broke out on Thursday after Sonko was convicted of corrupting youth but acquitted on charges of raping a woman who worked at a massage parlor and making death threats against her. Sonko, who didn't attend his trial in Dakar, was sentenced to 2 years in prison. His lawyer said a warrant hadn't yet been issued for his arrest. Sonko came third in Senegal's 2019 presidential election and is popular with the country's youth. His supporters maintain his legal troubles are part of a government effort to derail his candidacy in the 2024 presidential election. Sonko is considered President Macky Sall's main competition and has urged Sall to state publicly that he won't seek a third term in office. The international community has called on Senegal's government to resolve the tension. France's Ministry for Europe and Foreign Affairs said it was extremely concerned by the violence and called for a resolution to this crisis in keeping with Senegal's long democratic tradition. This is where I'll end it, but the story goes on and on and on. But I like the note on which I ended, which says that calm has been called for a resolution to this crisis in keeping with Senegal's long democratic tradition underlined. This is a country that has been a bastion of democracy, especially in Africa, not only limited to West Africa, but the African continent as a whole. They've long been in practice of this particular system of government. It's been a largely peaceful country, if you ask me. But what's going on with Ousmane Sonko and then Macky Sall? The very fact that the previous election he placed third, very popular amongst the youth of Senegal, and there's this strong feeling that the government perhaps is doing this to stymie his efforts come 2024. Now he's been sentenced to 2 years. 2 years from now, I think, would be 2025. By then, the 2024 elections would have actually ended. Well, I'll take the brief thoughts of my panelists on this particular matter, and I'm going to start with you, Alhaji Naziru.
Okay, having said a very, very good morning to our cherished viewers and to my colleagues who have joined us to make this program a success. The situation in Senegal certainly needs attention. Attention not only of the good people of Senegal, but the entire West Africa and Africa at large. I say so because of the relative calm that Senegal has enjoyed over the years. And the fact that the prevailing situation is something that we can surely resolve without necessarily allowing it to escalate into something else that would, cause Senegal a lot and cause the West African sub-region a lot. My, worry has always been that if we are talking African Continental Free Trade Area today, every part of Africa becomes a concern to every African, because it is the collective mobilization of the resources that we have in all the countries that will make the concept and the entire project successful. So if there is a warring situation in one African country, then it tends to affect all the other countries. More so when Senegal is a member of the ECOWAS states that we belong to and our immediate economic bloc. And it's also a very huge contributor to the success of ECOWAS. My worry also is the approach of government, where, clear violation of human rights is exhibited, because you cannot deny me of access to internet on your whims and caprices that you think we are using, the youth is using internet to mobilize and cause violence and mayhem to the state. President Macky Sall has a responsibility. I know how it took him a hell of a time to become the president. He never engaged in violence. He never was, subjected to rough tactics, whether presumptive or real. He was given the opportunity within the political space to also contribute his quota and then espouse his opinion to the ordinary Senegalese, which led to his election. So to be accused by the youth and by the supporters of Ousmane Sonko of trying to stampede his attempt at becoming a president is unacceptable, especially when it's coming from President Macky Sall. All in all, I would urge that ECOWAS and the leadership of ECOWAS should not sit unconcerned until the issue escalates to wider proportions before they begin to get involved. We must arrest it right now before it escalates. It is also right, the demand of Ousmane Sonko, to the effect that President Macky Sall must make an open declaration whether he intends to contest for the third time or not. It is right. It's a right demand, because there is continuous silence on that matter, which has implication on the constitution of Senegal, is worrying. More so when there are clear attempts by his supporters to say, to suggest that he is nursing an ambition to go for the third time. We need to quickly call most of our African leaders to order, so that such tendencies will be, nipped in the bud even before they mature, because it is not something that helps in our fragile democracy. Democracy is very important. If you accept to be democratic and you are elected through democratic process, you must adhere to the principles and tenets to its latter, which include, abiding by the constitution, and ensuring that things are done right. So all in all, I think we are happy to hear that at least calm has been restored for the very few days. I think since the weekend you would realize it has not been as tense as it used to be in the previous days. We will call on the Senegal authorities to quickly, allow for the flow of information. Internet today is not only for access of information, it is also a business avenue where a lot of businesses depend on that for their survival. So if you decide to, truncate internet, you are trying to also affect people's businesses, which would also contribute to your GDP through their taxes, through their, turnovers, and stuff like that. And then we must also see to it that Ousmane Sonko and his people must also not go to the extreme. They must also abide with the tenants. So far in Senegal, the record they have is, very clean. If you take even from the days of Abdou Diop, before the emergence of the opposition leader then, who has been in opposition for a very long time, to have succeeded Abdou Diop, and then from him, you came to Macky Sall, who also struggled a lot in opposition to become the president, and then today Ousmane Sonko is also, clearly paving his way by the support of the youth of the country. The youth constitute, no two ways about that, a larger population in Africa, Senegal inclusive. And for that matter, if you have the youth support, you are likely to, go win elections. One thing that we must also not lose sight of is the fact that the courts on the continent needs to be doing things right. Clearly, some of the accusation on Ousmane Sonko, to the effect that he has raped a beauty parlor, a beauty therapist in a beauty parlor, is unacceptable. You could see it's very flimsy. Even when they went to court with that, they could not succeed. But to also charge him of a vague charges of inciting or causing violence is very strange to me, in a very corrupting the youth. It's very strange to me in such an environment where he's a leading opposition leader. If you don't get the mind or convince the people to follow you, how do you get them votes for you in an election? So it's really dirty. The courts needs to really sit up and save our democracy and not be seen as always siding with ruling government. I think if the courts really sit up and becomes the referees that they are supposed to be, our democracy will go a long way.
Right. Thank you so much. Mr. Isi.
Yeah, thank you. Good morning to you, good morning to my colleagues here, and good morning to our viewers. The African story from Senegal, corrupting the youth. It's interesting, laws in Africa. And, once we've accepted to chart the path of democracy and democratizing the African continent, we can only succeed as African democracies when the judiciary is solid and firm and abides by the tenets of the Constitution or the laws that we made for ourselves, binding the democratic path we've chosen to traverse. And so if we begin to have these in a democracy that Senegal has accepted and most African countries are following, you begin to have trumped-up charges against supposed opposition. It doesn't augur well for us. It's not the best. Senegal have chosen the path to be democratic, and they've gone through elections, as my brother Nazir said, from Abdou Diop to Abdoulaye Wade to Macky Sall. It's been democratic processes. Why? I ask myself, why will any opposition team be thinking that the certain government has the potency or the tendency to extend its tenure when the Constitution says you have a maximum of 2 terms, or is it 1 term of 7 years?
I think it's 2 terms.
Yes, and so if you have that, and the person is inching to the end of the 2nd term, why will you be jittery that there's the high propensity that there's going to be amendment of the Constitution for him to...
We've seen that in Guinea.
Yes,
We've
yes.
seen
So
that in some
why would we be having that thoughts? Why would we not respect the tenets of the Constitution? It says you have this limited term, go do it and cope and go. That's the rules of engagement. I know a chief who says he doesn't even envy politicians because he doesn't even want to be the president of the country for just 2 terms. Then he comes home and then he rules no power, okay? And you know, he would prefer to be a chief for life.
And is bound by law not to be anywhere.
And you see, and then you just be there and people will become statesmen and then you give lectures and get some stipends and co, even though the state is going to take care of you. You get it? But he prefers to be a chief because he's still deaf. So make that choice. If you want to be a chief, go and be a chief. If you want to be a democratically elected president, abide by the tenets of the game, the rules of the game, and let's make progress. And shutting down the internet, okay, in this progressive world, and Senegal being one of the progressive countries in the sub-region, I thought wasn't good. And people have said that it's cost them over millions of dollars in that 2 days or so more. And then, the demonstrations has cost them a lot of loss. Because, yes, it sends the signal that the country is not stable, right? Investors are, you know, a bit scared if there's too much demonstration in your country. So let's send the signal to our leaders that, look, let's allow the laws to work. And trumped up charges like raping somebody when the facts do not support that. And then corrupting the youth. What do you mean by corrupting the youth? The youth, the internet is there. The youth, they follow things that are going on. Okay, so Ousmane Sonko is a politician. He's contested the last election. He has the following of the youth. It doesn't necessarily mean once you have the youth, you're going to win. Because we are a case study in Nigeria. You get it. The Obi had the youth following him on social media. But Obi didn't come up as the victor. So there's a blend of the youth that will be on social media hyping you. But another section of the youth that, you know, may be quiet and silent, but will be supporting another candidate. So as Nazi said, go and get the people to believe in your leadership and follow you instead of, you know, getting trumped up charges against your opponents and then silencing them. So these things, I think we've gotten out of that where we do these things. Let's allow the democratic process. Yes, we may disagree. And the opposition too, yeah, why do you... yes, it's happened in Guinea, but it doesn't mean it's going to happen in your country. If steps have begun, if processes have begun to make sure the man runs for another term, contrary to the Constitution, okay, by constitutional amendment. One leader in Africa that has disappointed me on this score is the Ivorian president. Okay, he's one person we all loved. Okay, Ouattara. And then he gets to power and amends Constitution to go for a 3rd term. I was so sorely disappointed, okay, because he is an international man, okay. He understands the international geopolitics and then the dynamics of the politics. And then he gets there, look at the way somebody wanted to cheat him. The whole world rallied behind him. He got fair this thing. The people voted. He became president. Then he goes to amend the Constitution and then he's running for another term. African leaders, let's begin to respect the Constitution that brings us to power. Okay, and let's follow it. Because if your predecessors had done what you were doing, maybe you wouldn't be in line to become the president at the time you got it. Okay, so let's do that. And people of Senegal, now that calm is returned, let's see. Maybe he's been sentenced to 2 years. and as you said, as the election is 2024. Yeah. So by the time you come out, the election is over. You get it, and I don't know the constitutional position of a convicted fella. Yeah. Okay, so which means maybe you are barred forever contesting for office as ex-convict. Maybe if it is like ours, what will it be? So we wish the people of Senegal well, but let our leaders begin to respect the laws and not abuse power. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let me come to my good friend Selom Dramani Chamado.
Yeah, blessed. Thank you very much. And good morning to your cherished viewers, and good morning to the good people of Central Town constituency, North Town constituency, and South Town constituency. Bless Senegal.
I like the tone that have been mentioned. All of them, so that nobody would zero you to one.
Exactly.
And expect that you want to become an MP.
But the fact is that I'm contesting in the Central Town constituency as an independent parliamentary candidate. But just that Pan-African TV has a solid and ardent viewers in Central Town constituency, South, North. That is why I mentioned all of them.
Good.
Yes. Bless. There's a tidal wave blowing across the world. And that tidal wave is for youth to get into leadership. It's a tidal wave. So if you want to stand in the way of that tidal wave, you will be blown away. Because we have entertained gerontocracy on the continent for too long, which has resulted in the retardation and stagnation of our economy. So I suspect that is why the president of Senegal, Macky Sall, is not so excited about the popularity Ousmane Sonko is gaining, particularly among the youths. When you even look at the charge, like AEC said, AEC categorically described it as trumped-up charges. But to be on the side of caution, I would say a seeming trumped-up charge that he's corrupting the youth. Something that is highly subjective. When he was sentenced that day, it caused a great deal of alarm and consternation in Senegal. And someone said, again, Mr. Issei said that once there's a constitutional arrangement which says that the president will only have 2 terms in office, and the gentleman in the saddle today is doing his 2nd term, why is Ousmane Sonko getting jittery? There's what is called perception. And I always describe perception as the logical or illogical deduction of things happening around you. So is it logical for Ousmane and his followers or supporters to perceive Macky Sall as somebody who will be attempting to amend the constitution so he can run again? This very judicial process, which has sentenced Ousmane now, actually confirmed that whatever perception Ousmane and his followers were having about Macky Sall, it's logical. Look, if you have subscribed to the democratic tenets, and you have used that process to come to power, and within your heart of hearts, you know that you have dubious allegiance to democracy, you should be able to tame that in order not to disrupt the very process that brought you to power. People have that dubious allegiance to democracy, a contrived one. But they are able to hide it, conceal it. So when they get the opportunity, that is when they show their true colors. Like even it's unfolding in Ghana. You see, we have autocrats who conceal their autocratic tendencies in opposition. Once they get the opportunity to come to power, that is when they begin to show what they are thoroughly are or made of. So they use democratic processes to kill democracy. And that is usually done through the justice or the judiciary system. It is happening all over the world, and especially in Africa, that African leaders who have dubious, contrived democratic allegiance or contrived allegiance to democracy use their autocratic propensity to kill democracy. And this is usually done through the courts. It is happening today in Ghana. And that is something we must watch. Because the last time I was here, I said something about the politics. That politics is usually done through emotions, not through the head. It's like the heart that leads that, not the head. So that is why when you have that sacred opportunity to lead your people, you should always have the people's interest and the peace at the front page of your mind. If you know that you have something within you that sits ill with democracy, don't venture to get into the democratic process of getting elected to become president of a country. There's a tidal wave blowing against gerontocracy. In Ghana, we are seeing the results of gerontocracy. The people who are too old to think on their feet are occupying sensitive positions that impact negatively on the youth. Today, as we speak, millions of Ghanaians have their SIM deactivated. Because it's a very important issue to me because of the movement I lead, which is Justice for Ghana. We have people whose mobile SIM or mobile phones has been deactivated by the state or an institution of the state. I struggle to understand or know the force of law which actually mandates that state institution to get those number of people's SIM card deactivated. As usual, this is a country where if it doesn't hit those at the top echelon of political leadership, everybody goes quiet. They don't care about who is affected by adverse decisions by government. There are people, when today you try calling them, you can't get them because their SIM cards have been deactivated through an arbitrary decision by somebody whose conduct, both in opposition and in government today, says that she is nothing but somebody who takes a capricious decision, somebody who is impulsive in her conduct. I am using this opportunity to appeal to the government that they should look at this deactivation of SIM cards again, because the primary document needed for the registration of SIM cards is not done by the people, it's not manufactured by the people whose SIM cards have been deactivated. It is done by a state institution. When you go to voter region today, especially where I come from, Central Town constituency, there are people who are struggling, who have been struggling to get what is it called? Ghana card. They can't get Ghana card. Today, they have their SIMs deactivated through an autocratic means that is concealed in democratic whatever. We should sit up. We should sit up. I continue to say that we have people with, again, contrived democratic allegiance, they are not democratic. So Senegal issue now should be a wake-up call that the youth of Africa all over want to go into leadership, and they shouldn't use any means of preventing them from getting there, because all the great things we see and admire today have all been done by youths, not gerontocrats, not these old folks who cannot think on their feet. Bless. Thank you very much. That's my take on the Senegal thing.
Right. Right. Thank you so much. Well, you two can share your thoughts with that. You can also share your thoughts with us. You'd have to pardon my voice. I've been hit with a bout of cold.
Sure.
So I'm struggling so much to even put words together. But
And that is why you off the air conditioning.
you are feeling right.
You are literally switch off the air conditioning.
Right. Our second topic for discussion, though, Supreme Court releases full judgment on James Gyakye-Kweson's election, says it was unconstitutional. So, the Supreme Court, they have come out to state the reasons for which they feel that James Gyakye-Kweson's election in 2020 was unconstitutional. They actually premised their argument on some constitutional provisions. They quoted some articles of the Constitution where they also said that citizenship was in sync with allegiance. So, basically, this was the argument of the Supreme Court. They also said that according to the Constitution, as of the time that James Gyakye-Kweson filed for nomination, filed to contest, he held dual citizenship. So even for the fact that during the election, that is on 7th January, he had that document to prove that he had actually renounced his Canadian citizenship. It was not enough to it was actually not enough to say that yes, based on this particular reason, I'm qualified to actually run for political office. So that has been the argument of the Supreme Court. But the National Democratic Congress, they've not been excited about the Supreme Court's ruling. I've heard I've heard comments from the Director of Legal Operations of the National Democratic Congress, Lawyer Maliba. He has spoken on this particular issue. He also quoted some provisions in the PNDC law which had to do with the issue of citizenship and then elections. So, and he asked the question why the Supreme Court did not consider that part of the PNDC law and decided that, okay, they were going to just look at this part of the 1992 Constitution. That has been the issue. But the NDC is clear. I know that the New Patriotic Party, they have presented a candidate who will be contesting Asen North. The National Democratic Congress, they are going to continue to make do with Honorable Gyakye-Kweson. I do not know how this is going to pan out, especially for the fact that there's also a criminal case that has been filed against him in the Supreme Court of Ghana. What people have said and what I have heard is that Gyakye-Kweson may actually win, but then that bits of the criminal case could also come up, and that could also bar him from being in Parliament. I'm going to first seek the opinion of Alhaji Nasiru on this particular issue, whether he has digested the judgment of the Supreme Court and what he thinks about their decision. Alhaji.
Well, I'll try to, because it's a quite complex area. I'll try to put all together in summary. No two ways about the fact that the ruling as it stands now would go a long way to worry our democratic process. I say so because today it is Gyakye-Kweson. Tomorrow it could be you, it could be any other person. I'm not surprised that just recently the Supreme Court, in a unanimous decision to uphold the case of the, what do you call it, the Auditor General, to say it was unconstitutional, the actions of the President and the Attorney General. They went further to acknowledge the fact that today the Supreme Court has been unanimous for a good cause. Clearly, frequent mentioning of the unanimous team has reached them to get to know that the ordinary Ghanaian is watching them with a different spectacles, which is not suitable for them. You see, in this particular matter, I think when you go to the crux of it, is the issue that has been raised by the NDC, that when you go to the representation of the people's law, the PNDC law 284, it is explicit that a candidate's qualification must be by the time of election. So that if I file today or I get registered today, and by the time of the election I am qualified, I can qualify. I can go ahead to participate in that election. If I am not qualified by the time I start the process, but by the time I get to the election, I am qualified. By the law, it allows me to what? Participate in that election and contest or ask for people's vote. If you take Judge Equation's submission of nomination, which is on the 9th of October, and then followed by, after the petition by Concerned Citizens of Asin, which is a known MPP group, and then the processes of that petition, and then Judge Equation being called back to rectify some of the allegations raised against him. By that time of the sitting, which was the 28th of November, Judge Equation has his certificate ready as of 27th of November. So by the sitting to, deliberate on the matter so raised by the concerned citizen, Judge Equation has his certificate, renunciation certificate ready. Now, if we go back to the same Supreme Court ruling when Dr. Pakwesi Indum, raised similar concern as to the expiration of eligibility, whether it is at the time of filing nomination or at the time of election. The Supreme Court also upheld in that ruling that the time of filing nomination, that is if we should go by Supreme Court's own decision, that as upheld in this Judge Equation case, that they believe without recourse to PNDC law 284, they believe that the qualification is by the time of filing nomination. If you should go by that, and then just opposing it with the ruling the Supreme Court gave on the Indum case, it clearly tells you that, look, there's something that is not clear. Because in the Indum case, they upheld that at the time of filing nomination, the time of filing nomination includes the processes. Do you understand? The time of processing and rectifying the so-called nomination up until it will be upheld by the Electoral Commission. So taking that as an example, and the fact that on the 27th of November, long after 9th of October, where Judge Equation filed his nomination, at the 27th or 28th, the petition against him was called upon by the Electoral Commission and issues resolved, because Judge Equation by that time has his renunciation certificate and presented to the Electoral Commission that is when the Electoral Commission allowed that he can go ahead to participate in the election. Now, the issue that is really baffling a lot of minds is the Supreme Court suggestion that allegiance is, what we call citizenship, is tied to allegiance. It then will begin to raise a lot of questions. Why? Because as we speak, we have a member of the U.S. Army, an ex-U.S. Army official, in our parliament, representing the good people of Kwewu, in the person of Brian Achampo. You can't be in the U.S. Army without swearing allegiance to the U.S. So in that particular issue, I begin to confuse myself that if this is the issue of allegiance and where you tie it to citizenship, then a lot of questions begin to raise itself. As we speak, the gentleman being proposed by the MPP, Charles Opoku, has a lot of issues that needs to be addressed. Why? Because as we speak, his name is not in the register of Assin North. I mean, that is a fact. He has his name in the Takwan Swahim register. I mean, nobody can run away from that. The MPP has not denied that. He himself has not denied that. The Electoral Commission has not denied that fact. So, are we saying today that the people of Assin North would look over someone who has renounced his Canadian citizenship with all the benefit that it comes with, to come and serve the good people of Assin North, get his name registered, by so doing, renouncing his citizenship with all the benefit that it comes with. Then someone else whose name is not even in the register, who cannot even vote for himself on an election day, comes in to represent them, and they kick such a person on the flimsy excuse that he has a court case. Are we pronouncing him guilty even before we go to the nitty-gritty of the matter? The laws in our country is explicit that you are not guilty until proven guilty by a court of competent jurisdiction. What shows is going to be guilty in the matter before the court? Are we predicting the court already? Are we saying that the MPP who are championing this agenda knows what the court is going to do? Besides that, it is be in the interest of the good people of Assin North, even if, assuming without admitting that the person will be guilty in the criminal charges, it will be in their interest, because today MPP has made it clear that when it comes to by-election, the good people of that constituency get to enjoy a lot and get a lot of benefits from those by-elections. They will get development, they will get some money shared to them. So they get the person who is qualified as of now to contest the election of 27th June, elected, so that if the MPP want to, or the courts want to pronounce him guilty, they will come for another by-election and get more development in their area. I mean, this is very simple, because today by-election comes with a lot of advantages, a lot of development, and a lot of benefit to constituencies. So they get double that benefits. And let's do away with, I mean, the, what do you call it, propaganda surrounding his, I mean, criminal charges. We should stick to the issues. As we speak now, the Chukwueze is very qualified to contest in the Assin North constituency. By so doing, I believe the NDC as a political party collectively have also agreed to present him as our candidate, so that the good people of Assin North will do the judgment for everybody, and then be concerned and tell the good people of Ghana what they think about the Supreme Court ruling. So then we'll pick it up from there and ensure that things are done right. But all being said, some of this ruling by the Supreme Court and our courts in general will go a long way to hunt the MPP that are benefiting from some of this ruling today. It will go a long way to hunt them. And I will not be surprised if by the time they get out of office, they will get to go back to the Supreme Court to be changing some of this ruling that some of the courts have taken. I will not be surprised. Because some of them, you think about it and you can't even comprehend it. But I am not a lawyer. I will leave it as a layman, and then let's watch how things unfold. So that when it's your turn, we use those same laws, directives by the courts against you, and then you see how it feels.
But you have confidence in Judge Kwesi?
I mean, not me alone. I mean, the good people of Asino have a lot of confidence in them. Because if, in Judge Kwesi, why I say so is because they understand the fact that he's renounced his nationality or his allegiance with the Canadian, with Canada, to come to Asino, get registered, be involved, to participate in an election, to serve them. I mean, they will not let this huge, sacrifice by Judge Kwesi go scot-free. And they know the contribution of Judge Kwesi in that constituency. I mean, his contribution in terms of development, in terms of, human development, infrastructure development, is there for everybody to see. Beyond that also is the fact that the NDC as a political party itself, contributed a lot in the Assin North in terms of hospitals, cheap compounds, and many other infrastructure development, which give them their share of the NDC tenure office, and His Excellency Jodabani Mahama in particular, tenure in office. And all this will go a long way in shaping the opinion of the Assin North people. It's our best bet for the 27 June election. And I want to believe the good people of Assin North will prove that after the election. They will vote for him massively to show that, yes, indeed, he has, established his authority in that constituency. That is why the MPP is doing everything to get him cleared up, and also to show up their numbers that they need badly to continue governance. It's so obvious. We just discussed the issue of Senegal and some of the rough tactics being employed by government in power. And I believe this is one of those rough tactics which will not inure to their benefit at the long run.
Right, thank you so much. Let me come to you, Mr. EC, your thoughts on this particular, on the Supreme Court's ruling. And I know your party, you have presented a candidate to contest the election. I'd want to find out from you what you think your chances are. And also, already if you go to Assin North, there are machines on the ground, earth-moving machines, developmental works are ongoing.
Development is a continuum.
So people are saying that this wouldn't have happened had it not been the fact that there's going to be a by-election, as we saw in Kumeu.
You cannot gag that from having their own opinions.
Somebody was actually saying that. I interviewed an MP last week here on the show, and he said that I think Honorable Mutala Mohammed. He said that he thinks that maybe he must be a sacrificial lamb to the good people of Tamale Central. Perhaps decide that he's not going to. Maybe he's resigning from Parliament, and then
by-election will be conducted.
Yes, so that a by-election will be conducted, and his people will see some level of development. But your thoughts generally on
clearly that is why the good people of Assin must vote for Judge Kwesi, even with his prevailing court issues. Right. So that if they vote for him, and then they collectively decide that, okay, he has a criminal case, they take him out. They go again for by-election, and then they will get more development. It's so clear.
Before I respond to your proposition, my brother from Central Town made some allusions and said people, gerontocrats, cannot think on their feet. I beg to disagree. And I think it's on the low point against people within that brackets. In every country, you need the experienced people, the elderly, is not for anything that when we are engaged in issues at the chief's palace or in the family gathering, we say we take a stand to consult the agent. You know that. Then we come back and go in a can. Just last week or last 2 weeks, I was in Mepe and Bator. I believe that's Central Town.
That's
right?
North Town.
That's North Town.
Yeah,
Okay.
North Town. Yeah.
Central Town is Adidome.
Okay, yes, I get that. Okay, so North Town. So I was thinking
but you actually pronounced Mepe so well.
Oh, yeah. I'm aware. My mother is from Mepe. I told you how many times. My father is an
Mepe. People would have said Mefe or Mepe.
And you see, mother tongue is ever.
I see. Interesting.
So that's what I did. And then two, he's an advocate. I respect him for that. But I want to disagree. In as much as you represent the people, you tell them to also abide by the rules of engagement. He's made a good point that a lot of the people don't have the Ghana
They don't
card.
have.
That is a good point.
Yeah,
I
they
heard
don't
Dr. Ashken Ashbe also making a plea for such category. But I tell you, as I was coming this morning, it's Legon, MTN, people were sitting there. So what are those category of people? Because yesterday and today,
They were there to plead.
they have their nobody
From the way that they have the cards.
3 days now. I like it.
Even the National Education Authority itself admitted that they have
About 2.5
that are yet to be distributed. No, they just got there. So they are going to be they just got there to do it.
Let me proceed.
When you ran for the program, that's why you didn't stop over to make
So you just assume.
I was here by 6.
No, you assume.
I was here by 6.
And I'm saying that you just assume. You're only assuming.
Because the clues are not there, then when they raise this issue again, then you see them all over the place.
So you immediately assume that this is
I know.
I've been to some parts of this country, some very remote part of this country, and that the National Identification Authority is omnipresent, or they are ubiquitous, or they are everywhere. Is very doubtful. They are not.
District,
yes. But you take a place like
the districts.
Yes. So I mean, you take a place like the Nalerigu Gambaga constituency, okay, which is one of the largest constituencies in the north. I think it's about the largest constituency in northern Ghana. Now, the district capital is Nalerigu. This is where people would have to move all the way from the Timpiles and the Dagbere Buares and then all these places, travel sometimes 50 kilometers all the way to Nalerigu just to get a Ghana card. Okay. Now, it is not so decentralized, and that's the problem I have with the National Identification Authority. It's not so decentralized to the extent that people in Dagbere Buare or Kulgona or Timpila would just walk to an office there and then get. So I had an engagement with the people of Dagbere Buare, and no single person there has a Ghana card, and this is by no fault of theirs. Now they'd have to travel about 50 kilometers to Nalerigu. Now they go there, they join this long queue, waste the whole day there, and they are not even able to even get their names down in the first place. You understand? So sometimes you have to go like a whole week continuously, and sometimes the money to transportation cost too. The roads are on more trouble. So I feel that it is a whole...
Especially in the face of these economic difficulties we are going through.
I have personally witnessed a scenario in what do you call it, in the Brown Apple region area. They call the area
to receive this decision.
Something in the Ahafo region.
People are crying.
Kasapin, where the gentleman walked from his village to the district capital to assess the Ghana card. And then upon arrival, his name was Audu Isaka or something. Just by that name, they deny him Ghana card. That, oh well, it could be a Burkinabe. What shows he's a Ghanaian? What? I mean, this is a practical experience. I witnessed it myself. We were on operation in the Upper region for us to see that. And anywhere you go in the communities that have people of Zongo and Northern descent, they complain bitterly about the fact that they are being over-challenged when they want the Ghana card, the process they have to go through is different from somebody who is Kwesi Mensah. Nobody would like to do things extensively. And I have always maintained that citizenship is not by tribe.
Mr. Isi,
it's not by tribe.
I agree that.
I take my point.
Oh, no. I'll give you the time. Mr. Isi, I agree that there are persons who intentionally, they have the cards, but they intentionally decide not to go register. They wait for the last minute. There are people there. There are lots of people there like that, especially in this part of the country, in the capital. In the capital, for instance, there are lots of people who actually do have the cards and then decide that, they wouldn't just go and register. They are waiting until the 11th hour before they go do so. Then there are these people as well too, who by no fault of theirs do not have the card. There's somebody I spoke with, said for 3 years now, for 3 years now, he has been trying to get a card. But
those you are talking about in Accra have done this registration for the 5th time. This is the 5th time they are doing this registration. Doing the same thing every day.
Actually share his thoughts on the Supreme Court issue.
But before I touch on that, the people of every citizen has a duty to himself and to the state. The people of Dagberebuari, if you give him a scholarship to travel to Canada tomorrow, he will get a passport. What are you talking about? If you give him scholarship to in the United Kingdom, he will get a passport.
I disagree with you, Mr. Isi, on this particular subject matter. I disagree with you on the fact that the Ghana card.
Let me finish my business.
No, the Ghana card is not a scholarship.
Please.
It is something. It is an essential document that every Ghanaian should have.
Don't worry. Yes. And
you must make provisions for that person to get it.
There are provisions.
There are no provisions. I'm telling you that
the political party said their people shouldn't go for it.
No, the people of Dagberebuari is not a political party. Dagberebuari
if you carry out the survey Dagberebuari, you get people with passports that were issued in 2010, 2007.
The Nalerugu Gambara constituency has gone to the NPP before. It's not as if that it is a stronghold of the NDC.
No, but who said a stronghold?
No, you are saying that you
have your own bias.
No. You are saying that their party members
a referee on this matter.
He's confirming to us the fear that we have.
No, Mr.
That is the fear.
You are saying that we have a duty as citizens.
In a certain way.
We have a duty. Great.
But
if you set your responsibility, why do you pass it on?
But the state in this case is also shaking its responsibility by not making proper provisions for the people.
What is the proper provision?
If you've put up a national identification office in a place like Nalerugu, then somebody has to travel. What sort of punishment is that?
What kind of punishment?
No, that is a punishment.
There's a teacher in Dagberebuari.
That is a punishment.
I was in Sefia Kontombra Menukrum. You can't travel when the car moves. You have to sleep at a Kontombra from my village. Listen, please. You sleep, dawn the next morning, you move to Yoso. When you get to Yoso, and you go to the bank and it delays, and you come and the Kontombra car is gone, you got to sleep again. The next day, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, before you can go. Okay? That is, so you can.
Yes.
If there's, sometimes not salary, sometimes I have to come and fill data at the GES office. Okay?
And you say,
to make your salary count.
or to show that I'm still a teacher.
Yes.
I'm in the place. So if I don't go and do it, I'll say, oh, because the distance is over 48 kilometers or 60 kilometers, so I'm going to go.
Please,
but I'm saying to you, no,
Mr. AC is missing the point.
Propaganda stance is
not
the point.
No, propaganda.
Let's wake people up as citizens. I'm saying that Gribwari, if he has scholarship to travel to the UK tomorrow, he will get a passport.
So, Mr.
And I'm even telling you that this government that has
is
even brought passport offices at the regions. And
So what?
But before that, he will travel all the way to Accra to get a passport. Please, let's let people. Now let me come to my issue. Let me come to my issue. People must wake up to their responsibilities. And two,
the government must wake up to its responsibility.
No, you are being biased. No, it's not biased. Let me tell you something. How many? You are losing sight of the fact. No, listen. This government, when the Ghana card processes started, was it started in the district capital? It was everywhere. I know people who were in typical villages in Osinasis, remote areas.
The only base document we have is their birth certificate. And you said the birth certificate.
You got it. No. You need somebody to guarantee for you.
And they don't have anybody to guarantee for them.
You know,
the person
you are not a Ghanaian.
Now when you take
you are not a Ghanaian. You people put other nationals.
You see everywhere.
You see the point I'm making. The Supreme Court of Ghana ruled about national health
insurance. You identify the other nationals because it's called Mohammed Nadim. So it's another national. That is how you identify the other national.
No.
Isn't it?
No.
But how do you identify them?
Has the right to challenge you. I can go somewhere else. They can challenge me. Now let me come to the Supreme Court.
Are you discounting the practical difficulties that people have?
That is what Mr. AC is doing.
Mr. AC is confirming to me that this is a grand scheme. This is a grand scheme.
No, but
now the mop-up is what is being done at the district.
But Mr. AC,
now
you are downplaying Mr. AC.
I'm not going to dance to your.
I'm not saying you should dance to it. It is not bias. I'm telling you that people have practical challenges.
Yes, on this matter, it's not a skilled position.
That people are finding it extremely difficult to access the card.
So is it not your bias?
You see, you don't make it as if they don't have a duty or a responsibility to go get the card.
But that's not.
You are not saying that they do not.
They do. You are
not saying I have the card.
Because it's 50. I have the card. Why didn't they take it?
Because they don't have the base document. Both certificate they have. You say they cannot use it. Can you use base certificate?
I'm actually
Can you use base certificate?
That is
we said there's a guarantee.
Let's proceed.
So this thing is open and transparent. Now let's come to the matter proper.
Yeah.
The matter proper on the ruling of Judge Kwesi. Look, it is like telling Alhaji Nazir telling me, or me going to the EC and saying, on the 5th of December 2024, I'll be 21 years. 5th of November 2024. Sorry, 5th of December 2024. I'll be 21 years. So when filing processes began, maybe in September or October, I'm going to file to contest as a member of parliament. That's what we are saying, that should be accepted. And then two, the document says, as of the time he was filing, that there was a question there, which he answered. You see, the charge of perjury is based on some of those things. The question says, do you owe allegiance to any other country other than Ghana as of the time you were filing? He said no. He said yes or no question. He said no, which was a lie.
No, how do you say it's a lie?
Yes, he was owing allegiance. He had started the process.
Okay.
But the answer is, you say yes. You say yes. You say yes. You get it. The document said, do you owe allegiance? You said no. Meanwhile, you had not gotten the renunciation certificate. So you were a citizen of another country. If you are a citizen of another country, you owe allegiance to the country. You can bring your legal argument that allegiance is different. But once you are a citizen of a country, you owe allegiance to the country. Okay? So please, these are matters that would... So he lied, he perjured on the forms. Okay? And two, the Supreme Court is right in saying as of the time of filing, you shouldn't be a citizen or owe allegiance to any other country other than Ghana. Look, let me be honest with you. I am one of the people who disagree with this law of dual citizens not being eligible to contest for parliament. I disagree with that. Okay? Because look, we travel outside to get skills and other things, and we're bringing them to bear in shaping our laws and our country. Okay? The only place that I support that you shouldn't be a dual citizen, which office you cannot occupy, is presidency or vice president. If you're a dual citizen, you cannot occupy that. That one I support absolutely. But member of parliament, minister, and those, come on, dual citizens must help. Okay? They've acquired skills and and some have their family. They look at the benefits they are getting. If you move all the family to Ghana, those things are gone. You get it? So you can leave your family, you come serve your nation as a member of parliament. Look, our footballers are allowed to have dual citizenship and they play for our national team. Why do you say a lawmaker cannot come and help in shaping our laws and constitution and governance processes? Okay? I'm happy this government, you know, under this government there's a bill in parliament that is making that process to amend the constitution. But as far as Article 94 is concerned, okay, come on, PNDC law, what does? Any law that is at variance with the tenets of the constitution appointing to the office of the constitution is what? Is what? So please, those ones, if the law, yes, the courts use some of them, but if it's at variance with the law, the position of the constitution, you discard that. So please, let's leave it that way. Now, going forward, Judge Kwesi and the issue of election and then construction and co. Oh, bless. You're telling me that your people in the program, in the timetable, the Minister for Roads told us that the Kumawu Road had already been awarded on contract. The contractor saw, maybe it was at that time that the bank granted him the facility. Alaji Nasir knows this.
I don't know. As for this purpose, I don't know. How when you get to buy election, the bank will now release money for you to go.
Don't worry. You'll be following. Look at it now. Bless. And so when it coincides with a by-election, the contractor maybe pushes for that because he knows all the big people in the country will be congregating there. So they have to see the fine work. No. I'm not conjecturing. I'm not conjecturing. Okay? Maybe the contractor says, let me, all the big people, the advocates, Alaji Nasir, all will be here. Let them see the fine work I can do. So that next time when I go to bed, okay, some of them can even speak for me. Possible. Okay, so construction works going on. Look, it's been the practice since 1992. The Constitution came into effect. I've not been comfortable with that, whether in my government or in the other government's time. We saw Talensi, we saw all those things, Chereponi, we saw all those things there. Okay, but hey, it's been something that we have been doing it, they have been doing it, it's ongoing. I don't know when it's going to stop. Okay, but let's look at it.
There is no coincidence.
No, it could be coincidence. That particular contractor in Kumewu could be coincidence. Okay, some could be deliberate. Okay, so let's leave it to the people. Look, for the first time, I saw a video. I don't know whether it's first time. Normally, when development is coming, the people are excited. But when the machines got to Asino, some of them were not excited, right? the Britons that, you know, they met, someone said, oh, you get it. They thought it's because of election. But hey, once and look, whether it's because of election or not, that woman frying yam by the roadside with dusty road, you think she will not be happy that that is going to be tarred? Okay, last one, Bless. Jechikwe's perjured, lied to the people of the Electoral Commission and the people of Ghana. Yes. Okay. Lied. No. The fact that he said no when it was yes.
Bless.
No.
It's a matter in court. Please, you must try.
The court has ruled on things. Okay. The court has ruled on things. Don't worry. Don't worry. Yes. Don't worry. Did he say no to that question? If he did, that is perjury. So allow the court processes to go through. His lawyers will be Abraham Amaliba, my good friend, saying PNDC. I said, why didn't he cite those laws in court? He knows the consequential effect of those citing those things there. He did, and they ignored it. You get it? That's why he's just in the public domain talking about it. Now, if he goes, there's a criminal charge against them. Then you see, I heard my brother Alhaji Nazir saying, tomorrow. He didn't make inference to yesterday what happened. He's aware of what happened yesterday. Adamu Sakande, okay, Boku Central, okay, the same law. He went through the same processes. Owing allegiance to another country. You got it? How can we say it's totally different? Adamu Sakande after the time was in Yes, thank you. It's not about the time you are in parliament. At the time you are filing to contest. Okay? So this thing is hoopla. What you are making argument that he is in parliament, he got the thing, it doesn't matter whether you got the denunciation on 6th of December, a day to election. It doesn't matter. It says at the time you were filing, are you a citizen of another country other than your country? The answer is you should give no. If you do no, you move on. But if you do no and we find out it's yes, wahala for you. Okay? That's it. And the people of Asin and two, we have no, NPP doesn't have any candidate in Asin as far as I know yet. Oh. Okay? We have 2 people who are filed to contest for that position on the ticket of the NPP.
Okay.
And there's allegation that one, and EC has come out that you don't need to be a registered voter per a certain constitutional article 94 or so. You don't need to be a registered voter in a particular constituency. You should be a registered voter. That is all.
So the MPP will hold its primaries between these 2 people and then?
Yes, you get it. Fair. So you should be a registered voter. Go and contest that in court. Okay? You should, if you are not, but you can use it for your campaign. That the person doesn't even vote here. That one, you are free to do it. But does that disqualify him? The law says no. Okay? And so allow the processes to go through. Okay? Once he's a registered voter and his name is on the register, fine. How do you know whether they open the process for transfer of votes? How will you know whether EC will do that tomorrow? If they do it, the guy has the chance to move it if he desires, so desires.
But he's already feel response.
You got it. If he so desires, that's all. You got it. Right. No, there's no law. There's no law in Ghana. No, there's no law. As we speak, there's no law in Ghana. We say you must be a registered voter in a particular constituency before you can contest. There's no law. So what are we talking about? You can use this for campaign. So when he is convicted on criminal charges, he will go back. People of us don't do that. We are going to do everything to ensure legitimately that we win that seat. Right, and we are going to win. Right, thank you so much. We are for our good works we work for us.
Stella. Yeah, Bless, thank you very much. Bless, I made reference to gerontocrats that who cannot think on their feet. It wasn't a sweeping generalization. I actually made that comment in respect of those who are superintending affairs today. And I say that with all the honesty I can command. Because when you look at their actions do not are not in sync with the aspirations of us. So, because I know that it's the experience of the elders that serves as the light before us, the youth. So if you have old folks in your community or in your society, count yourself blessed, because they have seen it all. And whatever they have seen or experienced in their lives, that is what they will place before you, the young person, as your light. That is what it is. So I didn't use that thing in a pejorative manner, or to include all old folks in Ghana and across the world. No. There are old folks who have not gone senile. They are still sharp when you engage them. There are people, and I engage a lot of them. I seek their counsel whenever I'm doing all this, my political activism. You understand? But
you didn't make us.
There are people in power today who can clearly not think on their feet. Those, you know, they are the people I made reference to in my earlier submission. Okay? Mr. Jachi Kwesen. The law, the supreme law of this country is the document we always refer to as the Constitution of Ghana. And the Constitution of Ghana, I think Article 1, Clause 2, says that it is the supreme law of the country. And any other law that is found to be inconsistent with any provision of the law or of the Constitution, to the extent of that inconsistency, shall be void. The Constitution of Ghana does not, particularly with reference to Article 94, Mr. AC can check, because he has this fervid love for law, can check whether there's a mention of nomination. There is no mention of nomination in that provision of the Constitution. What is mentioned there is election. So was the person qualified before the election? The Constitution does not say whether the person is qualified before nomination. No. Wait, Mr. Isi, just...
What do you understand by election?
Mr. Isi, please, pipe down.
Jesus.
Pipe down. Nomination is a process. The nomination...
Election is a process.
Mr. Isi, please, don't choose my words for me. Otherwise, you are deliberately getting me derailed from the points I want to make to assail your spurious arguments. Nomination, it's a component of an election.
Good.
It is a component of an election.
So you've taken my correction.
It's a component of an election. The gentleman in question, Mr. Jachi Kwesen, took step honestly to renounce his Canadian citizenship. All right? So at the time he was asked the question as to whether he owed any allegiance to any other nationality or any other country, he answered honestly that he owed no allegiance to any other country other than Ghana. Mm-hmm. He renounced his Canadian nationality. So therefore, he owed no allegiance to the Canadian government or the Canada at the time he was asked this question. All right? Look, bless.
Like, seriously?
Yes.
Have you read the Supreme Court's interpretation?
AC.
Bless, read it for us.
Look, AC. You see, the law, in fact, is couched and crafted in English.
You say I'm spirit, my argument spirit. I'm sorry for derailing your thought. I'm sorry. Move on.
Because
I'll stop.
Initially,
I know.
I was going to sit in between Mr. Isi and Alaji. Then I realized that Isi is a hot-blooded person. I'm a hot-blooded person.
Alaji is also
hot-blooded.
You don't know.
Sex was going to happen.
You decided to ignore us.
Maybe Alaji has pushed the work onto me now. So Alaji's work is not involved on me. So, bless. Somebody, in the words of Justice Yuni Kolondi, when he was at the bar, I think it was yes, about Ghana at 50. Ghana at 50, when Dr. Reku Brebe was being hauled before the court, and then there was an issue about the commission that was set up to look into the activities of Ghana at 50. Then the Yuni Kolondi said that once that commission was set up, it was as if it was in the form of a court. So therefore, it had all the powers of the court. So once the gentleman appeared before that commission, and whatever the commission wanted or seeking from him, they were done with that thing. Then they were done with the case. So hauling him before the court, it's Yamutu. Yeah. Case Yamutu.
Double jeopardy.
Correct. That was what Yuni Kolondi said on Joy FM. Kwesi, this guy,
factual.
what's his name?
It was factual.
This man, he's now the presidency, I believe. Kweku Sechiado's program. You remember he used to have a program on Joy FM,
yes.
the front page.
Yes.
Correct. On Fridays. That was on that program that Mr. Yuni Kolondi said this. That case Yamutu. Then he said this. He said the law, quote, is just logic and grammar. Yuni Kolondi, he said this. That the law is just logic and grammar.
That's factual.
Thank you. So that means that if the Supreme Court or judges take decision,
Yes.
and we go through that, we read their decisions, we can also pinpoint
Of course. That's
where
why
there
there's
are
a
flaws.
review. Yes.
or when we suspect something as illogical, we can also point it out.
Yes.
This whole case just falls within what I said earlier, that we have individuals who have contrived allegiance to democracy. Their natural self, what they have within them, sits ill with democracy. This gentleman is just being targeted by this administration. Judge.
Oh.
He's just being targeted by this administration because of the current composition of parliament.
So Adamu was just targeted.
That is why I would advise that the NDC should look at the choice of Jachi Kwesin again. Because if you remember, before we even got to this stage of this case, there were issues about Jachi Kwesin's renunciation or allegiance. But it's just like the NDC or Jachi Kwesin at the time shrugged it off. The NPP pursued it through the gentleman who, spearheaded
It's a
this case.
citizen, not MPP.
Yeah, okay. The MPP.
When it comes to the case of Jachi Kwesin, the person who filed the case is a citizen, not MPP, but the people of Dagbebaya are NDC. I've heard you.
No, I didn't say the NDC.
I think.
When did I say that?
Please,
I detest that interpretation.
No.
To be honest with you.
No.
I said you were doing propaganda. And I thought that bring this thing, if he wants a passport, he will get it. To travel. You want to yes.
The NDC directed the amendment.
Yes. It was factual.
So you are suggesting that.
So and a mosquito passed behind and had his
So in that vein, you are telling me that. So no. In that vein, you are telling me that the people of that group who do not have the card are NDC members. That's what it means.
It's your interpretation.
Well,
I
hope
propaganda
Mr.
interpretation.
will agree with me
Yes.
that laws
Yes.
are usually flouted by lawyers. That's an irony and a paradox.
Why is it a paradox?
It's a paradox because
That's where they treat.
I see. Laws are often flouted and violated by lawyers
Or they explore the gray areas.
because they can wriggle their way out of the law.
That's why they treat.
And that is what is happening today. They know that, okay, we can exploit this aspect of the law to our advantage. They have just started. Listen to AEC Alaji. I beg you, listen to AEC.
Yeah.
The verve, the verve in his voice in mentioning and pronouncing the word perjury should tell you something. That these people definitely, they will hound this man out if he's elected again. I can tell you, Alaji, whoever NDC decides to place there as their parliamentary candidate, that person will win the election.
How do you assume that?
Oh, why? Unless, of course, you go there again with all those your
2012 they won it. 2016 we won it. 2020 they won it. So what does it tell?
But the circumstances are different.
How?
The circumstances today are different because the good people of Asin North can see that this is a very vindictive, divisive government that has targeted one of their own just by merely latching onto this thing that he has failed to renounce his Canadian.
So High Court, Supreme Court, all is government. That is trying to scandalize somebody.
I said to you a while ago that autocrats who have opportunity to come to power, what they do is that they use democratic institutions to kill democracy.
Jesus.
And that is exactly what is unfolding before us today.
One Domalevo won the case. You cited it here.
There is
a government that was against it.
There is an autocrat. There's an
Jesus
autocrat
Christ.
today in the saddle who is using democratic institutions to kill democracy that he deceitfully championed in the past to woo Ghanaians into his fold.
Imagine this.
All right? How do they do that? They usually pack the court with their favorites. This is scientifically, researched. You can check. When autocrats get opportunity to rule or lead a country, that is what they do. They use democratic institutions to kill democracy. And they pack the court with their favorite. Is it not happening?
How do they do that?
I'm saying that they usually pack the court with their favorites.
How do they do that? How do they do that?
How
was the Demolavo axed out?
No, how come you, with what you are saying, your own logic, Domalevo won a case where? Is it not in one of the courts? Against the president of the republic.
When did he win that?
That is the autocrat. That is the autocrat you are saying, a case against he himself. An ordinary citizen wins against the an autocratic president who is using the courts, according to you, to exploit the system. No, let me tell you something. Let's be candid with the process. That packing of court and co is the constitution. Yes, who has the authority to nominate somebody to the Supreme Court?
I am saying that you use democratic institutions to kill democracy.
What are you talking about?
No, you use democracy to kill. You see, because it's the democratic institutions you are going to use.
That.
So you check a loophole somewhere and you exploit that loophole to destroy democracy.
You can't appropriate and reprobate. We don't need the constitution. We need a dictatorship, a military governance.
I think it's the Bible that says that not everything that is permissible that will promote your whatever. You see, I think it's in Corinthians or something. So if the constitution says that or the constitution does not cap.
Thank you. That is the tree translation.
Yes. That's in tongue. So if there's a loophole that the constitution doesn't cap the number of judges that should be appointed to the Supreme Court, as a democratic person, you shouldn't take advantage of that and be packing the court with your favorites.
Who is packing the court?
The president. Don't you know that the president has packed the court?
It's a figment of your imagination.
A figment of my imagination.
It's a figment of your imagination.
Okay.
When President Mahama appointed poor man to the Supreme Court, he wasn't packing the courts. He wasn't. Those people
how many
judges?
How many judges?
What Professor Moss appointed people to the court?
How many judges? Wrap up for me.
Come on.
Come on.
I need to just jump into this.
All right. So, Bless. NDC should just go back to the ballroom to look at the choice of Judge Chikwueze again. All right? Because they have the courts, this government or this very administration is using the court as their annex or extension or appendage. So if you have somebody who is also qualified there, you can use that person. But these people, as soon as Judge Chikwueze wins this election, you will see he will not have the opportunity to serve his people in parliament. They will definitely have
that's a case against him.
They will definitely do it.
That's a criminal
case.
So
it is not like NDC doesn't have people in Asinov to contest and win the election. The NDC has people there who are equally qualified and capable to win the election at Asinov. So you can, get Judge Chikwueze, talk to him.
Bless.
And
I'm not cutting him, but before Alhaji speaks, Korku Anyido said something. Maybe Alhaji can help us to understand it. Korku Anyido who said in 2012, Judge was disqualified for dual citizenship by the NDC. In 2016, he was disqualified by the NDC. Even in 2020. Then later, they had to revise and Korku said this, so please, maybe he can explain.
Korku is no more a member of the NDC.
He was the then deputy then.
I don't discuss, but as we speak,
Alhaji is saying to you that.
So I don't
answered it. He answered it. No, he asked. He said he has something. I also have something. On my brother.
This I can run the couple in a minute, if you allow me, Bless.
1 minute.
You see, clearly, as my brother here keep insisting and perjury. I was at the court in the Jomoro case when the Supreme Court, when the High Court in Takrady was, pronouncing judgment. And it was so explicit that what the NDC did was to, have a representative of the Ivorian jurisdiction to clearly help the High Court with the laws of Ivory Coast, where it says explicitly that the moment you put in resignation, renunciation, even during the process, you cease to be a national of, Ivory Coast. So the case was in favor of the NDC based on that evidence provided by the Ivorian legal
that is the law there. That's good.
That is the law, and I'm saying that. And in this particular case, we have not come to the conclusion that the same thing applies in Canada or not, so that we can also rely on it. And then also to move forward and address the issue of my brother. You see, the NDC cannot, as we sit, knowing very well that Judge Chikwueze is not guilty, we cannot first pronounce him guilty even before the court processes end. The attempt to not produce, present Judge Chikwueze again would suggest to even the court that we also believe that he has done something wrong. That we don't believe he has done anything wrong.
I'm taking the thoughts of our viewers. So thank you so much.
Jurisprudence. It was
the name my name is Emmanuel. I strongly stand against the Supreme Court's judgment on James Achikwesu's case or matter. I'm not in favor of that hasty decision because the Supreme Court also committed errors and need to be questioned again. I think this 1992 Constitution needs amendment. Thank you for your good work, but Mr. Host, you should try to restrict Mr. Isi from interjecting other panelists' submission. It's disgusting. Thank you so much. Noted. Hello, Pan-African TV. Domelovo, please do not call the line. Do not call the text line. It says Domelovo won the case because the court knew he cannot come back to. Oh, they are still calling. I have to put the phone on airplane mode.
Let's put this on record.
The
president is reading.
I'm reading. I'm taking. Please don't interject. Please.
A professor of law have done it before, and the president referenced that.
Right. Domelovo won the case because the court knew he cannot come back to count them. So they did that to make it look like the court is fair. What they did was
they are reading
its purpose. Domelovo won, but what benefit is it today when he can't fight the very corruption he was fighting? Thank you so much.
Really
this one says,
he lost against
Mr. Isi politically defends blindly in favor of MPP from Kwesi Ndrobo. Okay, thank you so much. My first time sending this to your station.
You're lucky.
Just you and well, it's not so clear. Okay.
First time
Is Dabala in the Volta region a border town? During the registration for my Ghana card at a stage of my interrogation, because I couldn't recollect the name of my mother's village in Dabala, that is Dalive, I was challenged that Dabala and Agbozume, i.e. place of birth, are border towns. I was less than 10 years in the 80s when I left my grandmother to Accra. I returned back there again only in 1991 for the burial of my grandma. Unfortunately for me, the registration officer permitted me to call my mom to get the name for him. In fact, you'll be shocked if you read the content of the challenge form. Okay. Okay, so Salom looks like the picture behind him. Hey, you look like Kwame Nkrumah. Good morning. On issues about the Ghana card, I just want to let the gentleman know that even our own immigration officers don't respect or honor it at our flower border, let alone the Togolese officials. Okay, I doubt the decision by the NPP spokesperson. How would they vote for you, but you can't vote for yourself? So the NPP aspirant for the Asin North is not qualified as he's not a registered voter for the
that's issue, not me.
So doing, he's a foreigner in that constituency. The NPP spokesperson.
That's why I say Alaji and Co can use it for their
but unfortunately, all he says are lies. Okay.
The law says you should hail from there. That's all. That's what the law says.
It says, good morning, Mr. Isi should not try to confuse us. How many people are going in for passport? He shouldn't compare apple to oranges. It's just a mere example.
He admits that it is
our nation, Ghana's law now denies Ghanaians as citizens of Ghana. Well, that's a question.
Fellow has made me excited.
Okay. Good morning, Pan-African TV. Why are MPP gurus and the affiliate cartels being mischievously smart in making their political rivals scapegoats of their usual political machinations? It seems the MPP gurus are about to repeat what they did to Patriot Domelovo of the GRA, to Patriot Jachikwesin, the MP of Asin North again. But this time, the MPP cynical malice will not succeed. For if those cabals of personnel of the EC who did vet and admit Jachikwesin's eligibility for the constituency MP election did no evil, then Jachikwesin also did no evil in that clandestine allegation by MPP gurus. Okay.
People said they were wrong.
Okay. Thank you so much. I think I've been able to read all your messages. Our time is up, and thanks to the
our final wrap-up.
Thanks to the editing. Thanks to the folks in the MCR for giving me some extra 2 minutes. Today they've been a little bit generous. Thank you, Akapo. Thank you, Gerard. Thank you to I hope for always doing the watching. And to those of you who send messages, we are extremely grateful. Do have a pleasant day.
Ronaldo is a consummate Democrat.
It's not.
A consummate.
It's a consummate.
Someone knows that.